Hey there, this is Rick. I hope everyone's having a great day. Welcome to my allotment. Today, I'm wearing a shirt. I might even iron it next time. Now, later in the video, I'm going to be seeing whether I can do something about these tomato plants. At the moment, they're not doing very well at all. And I've been given some advice. I don't know whether it's good advice or not, but I shall touch on that when we come to them. Also, during the video, I'm going to be showing you a quick guided tour of how everything's doing. And I've also got a few bits to show you regarding the construction that I did last week. But before I do anything else, I'm going to declare war. Now, you may remember from my last video, I had issues regarding cats crapping everywhere. Although I assume they're cats, I've actually had to take some precautions with this bed because they particularly liked this bed, and to be honest, I was actually half expecting to come here and find a cat poo balanced on top of this mesh, but so far we've been lucky. Anyway, I've decided to do something about it, and I've now purchased the nuclear deterrent. These are ultrasonic cat scarers, and hopefully they're going to protect the whole allotment. I'm going to have one for inside the polytunnel and one for outside where all the beds are. Now, let me try. One of them's solar powered. The solar panel charges up the batteries on that one, but this one's just purely battery powered, but it's much more powerful apparently. And I don't know whether you're going to be able to hear this, but if I turn the sensor up, it's got an infrared detector on it, so if anything moves in front of it, I can hear it clicking now. But if I turn the frequency down, that is horrible. There's this really, really ultra high pitched sound. I don't know if you get to hear it. I don't know if I can bear this. Oh man, no, I can't. I can't deal with that. That is horrible. So anyway, I'm going to set these up in the polytunnel, and hopefully it's going to solve my cat problem. Although apparently it does take a little bit of time for these to work. So in the meanwhile, I'll be carrying on using the meshes and everything. I've got to turn that off. Sorry, this is horrible. My hearing's not that good, but this thing is like, it feels like someone drilling through my brain. Oof. Now, obviously, this comes with a spike, so it's designed to go in the ground. But obviously, if I put this in the ground down here, the walls of the paddling pools are going to get in the way. So I've decided, hopefully you can see that, I'm going to put it at this height here. I think that's going to be fine. I might as well leave the spike on, and I've got the option to move it later if I want without too much faffing around. And there we go. And then what I'm going to do, I'm going to keep the sensor down while I'm here. But I'm going to turn that frequency to about 4 or 5. The problem is this didn't come with very good instructions, and so a lot of this is kind of guesswork. But fortunately, this one did come with instructions, and it basically said if you put it on level 5, and then obviously you turn the sensor on wherever it is. You have to give it a minute. Whoa! That is horrible. Okay, I'm not going to turn it on while I'm working here. But yeah, at least I can actually turn these things right down so that when I am working in here, I can hear that going off now. These are horrible. I'm really hoping these are going to scare the cats off. Anyway, let's go and put this one outside. Now with this one, it's got an 80-degree protection zone on it, which is basically that. And what I've done is I've angled the post in the ground at the right angle, so I'm hoping it's going to cover all of these beds down here and these beds over here. Now I'm not going to turn it on until I go home. Obviously I hope I remember to turn it on before I go home, and hopefully it's going to take care of the cat issue. Now it may not be an immediate effect, but hopefully over the next week or so I should see a noticeable difference in the amount of times that the cats disturb the beds. Now, continuing with the cat theme, what one of the problems I have with the polytunnel is the amount of heat that I get here in the summer. I basically need to leave the doors open, and what's been happening is where I've left the doors open, the cats have been going in and pooing everywhere again. So what I've finally done is I've turned the door into a stable door, and I want to say thanks to I had several people suggest, why don't I do this? I've had all sorts of ideas and suggestions on how I could make some sort of a barrier to prevent the cats sort of getting in and out but still being able to have the air circulate. And the best one I think I've come up with is this, and like I say, it was several people made the same suggestion, and I kind of thought about it and I thought, yeah, that's probably the best way of doing it. So literally all I've done is I just put in an extra spur, and I've turned what used to be a single door into 2 doors. And obviously this just clamps up here, and that's fine, so I can walk away, nice big airspace. I've got exactly the same going on at the other end. And obviously in the winter time, if I want to shut this door, and I just undo this little catch here, I can't undo it now, here we go, and then obviously I can shut this door as well, and we've got the full door as well. Now you may notice that the pallet growing bed that I had here is missing. Well, earlier in the week I came down and did a little bit of handiwork, and I'll show you what I've done. As you know, this is the composting area. There's my old compost bin. The problem is it's completely full, so I needed a new compost bin, and I wondered sort of how to go about doing it, whether I should buy another one, but then I thought, well, no, because I get an awful lot of compost from this place, and especially this time of year, and in about a month's time I'm going to start pulling plants down. I'm going to have loads and loads of foliage, so I decided to make one. Now this is a much higher quality one than this one over here. Obviously this one over here I put up in my very first year of coming to this place, and it's basically a dumping ground, and there's loads of soil. Basically what happened was I was getting huge plants with huge clods of earth underneath them, and I was just chucking them there. So what we've eventually ended up with is a big pile of earth, which is no good to anyone. But in here I'm literally only going to be putting stuff that is going to rot down. So I'm going to be very careful with it, with what I put in here. And if I do end up with something with big clods of earth in it again, it's going in there. I may do something about that perhaps next year, but I'm not worried about it at the moment. But you may notice I was low on pallets, so I actually had to use the growing pallet that I made here. So I may still be able to get away with growing some bits in there, I don't know yet, but to be honest I needed the pallet more than I needed the growing space, so we'll just have to see what happens with that next year. Now the whole thing has been lined with plastic and weed membrane, but the floor is the actual ground. There's no barrier between the ground and what's rotting down, and I'm hoping as it all rots that it's going to attract the worms, and we should get a lot of worms sort of getting stuck in here. And I've also got this little gate thing here that I can remove, so I can get in there, take away this front face, turn it over with a fork if I need to, and then put the front face back again. So I'm hoping it should, probably in a year, maybe 2 years, make me some really good compost. Now you may remember from my last allotment video where I planted my Christmas potatoes, they're actually starting to come up, and I can earth those up a little bit now, not a lot, just a little bit, and I shall carry on earthing those up until this is all level again. But yeah, all looking good. These are the Nicola, these are the Maris pears, and they're doing fine. I need to work on those tomato plants in a minute. Also, thanks to everybody who suggested whether I should leave the buckets inside or outside the polytunnel. The overwhelming majority of you said the buckets should be outside, and that's exactly what I've done. So all of the Christmas spud buckets are now outside, and they're coming along nicely. So I'm quite pleased about that. It looks like the Maris pears have just the edge over the Nicolas, but it doesn't really matter because we're not racing. But once again, once these have come up just a few more inches, then I shall use the soil that I left in the buckets around the outside to earth them up again, and then later on, as they get bigger, I shall come round and fill the buckets until they're completely full of soil. I may end up taking the soil from here because this goji berry is just not, I don't think it's going to survive. That's a shame. So, but never mind, I've got couple of goji berries at home now, or 3 goji berry plants at home, so they're also in buckets exactly like this, and I'm hoping they're going to flourish next year. Now, this is my experimental grow in the ground bed, and as you can see, it's doing okay. Got the beetroot coming up, got the pak choi, the Chinese cabbage and the peas all growing nicely, but you can also see the weeds are starting to come back already in big numbers. Now, I actually hoed this whole area last week, and this is exactly the problem I had in the first year, where I would go over the plot with a hoe, and within 1 week the weeds would be coming back with a vengeance. And it looks like I may still have that issue, even though I covered this up for the spring. So I think we're going to be back to covering everything up next year again. And I've just noticed another cat has paid a visit here. Right, these tomatoes, it's time we sorted them out so I actually get a half decent crop for them. But I mean, I've got thousands of flowers here, and there's no way this plant has enough energy to make tomatoes out of all of them. So what I'm going to do is be a little bit brutal. I'm going to get some secateurs and I'm going to start snipping. Basically what I want to do is just get rid of any growing tips. I don't want the plants to grow any bigger, I just want them to develop tomatoes now. So I'm going to try to literally just go around and trim to the best of my ability. But like I said in my previous videos, these tomatoes have been a bit of a disaster this year, but it's completely my fault because I let them go wild. So I think, like I say, next year I'm going to be much, much stricter with them. There we go, I'm talking about things like this. This little vine here, it's got some tomatoes growing on it, but then it's going on to grow more. But these are not, they just don't have enough time left in the year to develop. So if I snip it off there, I'm kind of hoping that growing tip will now stop and the plant will start to thicken up and fill out the actual tomatoes rather than concentrate on growing. Again, here I've got a, I don't know if you can see that, I've got a growing stalk. This is heading for the moon, so I need to stop it. There's a few flowers there, but I need to follow back until there's some tomatoes there. So if I chop that off about there, see, that's all growing tip and no tomatoes. Now at the moment it's all theory. I'm not entirely sure what I'm doing here, but I've learned how to recognise the growing tips. I mean, basically what suckers look like. You know, when the suckers, you got the main stem, you got the main branch, and then these little suckers, they come out of the side. That's basically what a lot of these are. They're just loads of suckers. So there's lots of growth there. There's lots of energy gone into that, with some flowers on the top. But all that energy has been diverted from the tomatoes. So, yeah. Anyway, that's the theory. Now I think I've pretty much got as many as I'm going to get for now. I shall keep a close. Oh, there's another one here. That. See, this is another one that loads of growing here, but no tomatoes. So I'm going to chop that right back. Actually, I'm going to chop that back to there. So, I've got a couple of tomatoes there. I'll tell you what I'll do then. Let's have a look. Let's get rid of that and get rid of that. I'm going to stick that in the ground. Just an experiment, really, just to see whether that carries on growing or not. Now I've had a few comments, or I get quite a lot of comments all the time about people saying it's not wet enough, you know, everything's too dry. Generally what happens is when I come to the allotment to make videos, I'll make the videos first, and then before I go home I water everything. So that's probably why everything appears really dry, you know, on the videos. It's because I haven't watered until after I finish making the videos and I'm just about to go home. But I do try to stay on top of the watering, although I generally only ever water once a day. I know some people say you've got to water twice a day, but the allotment is quite a distance from my house, so you know, with the amount of fuel used to get here and back twice a day, it wouldn't make the allotment very sort of viable, if you see what I mean. So I've got to do everything you know, once a day maximum, but more often than not, when the weather's like this and it's not scorching hot, I can usually get away with you know, every other day. So that's pretty much the arrangement I have in regards to the watering. Now, whenever you handle tomatoes, you always end up with green fingers. So I wonder if that's where the whole green-fingered expression comes from. Don't know. Let's give you a little tour, a quick tour of how it's all going. The runner beans are, you can probably see them all hanging down. I haven't harvested them for about, I don't know, 3 days. And in that time, all of these runner beans have absolutely gone crazy. So that's what I like about these runner beans. They are just so prolific. But of course, you do have to end up stringing them all over the sink, which can take a little bit of time, but it can be quite therapeutic if you've got a nice glass of wine with you. And what you do is you just blanch them and then freeze them down, and then you've got them all winter. So the bees are still at it. Nice to see the bees. I haven't seen too many of them around this year, but one thing I have seen a lot of, and I noticed them earlier, although there's not so many now, is the amount of cabbage white butterflies that were flying around over there earlier. It was absolutely unbelievable. But they've been absolutely prolific this year. Well, certainly in this area. Perhaps if you've had similar experiences with the cabbage white butterfly, do feel free to let me know in the notes below. In fact, I can add to that with this is a result of cabbage white butterfly. I end up with a skeleton kale. This used to be a kale plant, and what's happened is you got these caterpillars, hundreds of them, absolutely hundreds of them. And they've just completely stripped all of the brassicas to skeletons. And I'm presuming these are the caterpillar of the cabbage white. Now I think by far the best crop I'm going to have this year is these tomatoes here. And I don't know whether it's the growing arrangement that I've got here, or I don't know what it is about this bed that these tomatoes seem to like, but they are growing prolifically. I have loads and loads and loads of them everywhere. And I don't know whether it's to do with the fact that I covered this bed up. Perhaps it's keeping it slightly warmer. So I don't know what the secret is, because the soil in there is just raw soil that I dug up from the ground. So there's obviously something going on there. But I think I may adopt this method next year of actually physically covering up with a top piece of material and then just growing through holes, because obviously that's going to keep the cats off. It's going to retain the moisture. It's kind of an all-round good thing. So I think that's what I'm going to be doing with a lot of the other beds next year. Cabbages, they're firming up nicely. And this is the garlic, or what's left of it. I have not touched the garlic, but I think I can safely say it's a no-go this year. The garlic is an absolute disaster. More empty beds. I'm not going to grow anything in them now until next year, but I will, like I say, condition them. I'll try to loosen them up a little bit, maybe add in some extra compost and some manure, and then hopefully by next year they should be nicely ready for planting. Right, let's have a look inside the polytunnel. Now, inside the polytunnel, everything's growing beautifully again. In particular, this bed here. Now, this bed was planted up when my good friend Sean from the Hort Channel TV came down to do some filming, and he gave me 3 sweet potato slips, a cornflower? No, not cornflower. What was it? It was I can't remember, but I'll put the name here when I remember it. And a single tomatillo, and that tomatillo has grown enormous, and it's now got some flowers on it. It has these delicate little flowers, just single flowers in each junction. So I think it's only a matter of time now. Hello, little grasshopper. I think it's only a matter of time before I actually start getting some kind of fruits on here. So I'm looking forward to that. Now, I've never had tomatillo before. I have seen pictures of them, and they're like black tomatoes. So I very much look forward to seeing what they turn out like. But yeah, if you're watching this, Sean, this is what we planted when he came down, and it's all looking rather good. The basil's dying off now. Once again, I got the timing wrong with the basil. I need to plant the basil next year much later, because obviously the basil's just dying off and the tomatoes are just getting ready to go red. So ideally I want the 2 to be ready at the same time, because tomatoes go with basil. But I shall know that for next time. Looks like I'll be relying on dried basil this year. Now the grapes are starting to go red, and if I taste one, I will find that they are... Oh, excuse me. They're sweeter than they were when they were green. Green was not good, but they've got a musty thing going on there. These are not good for eating, and so I'm probably not going to be doing a lot with them this year. However, like I said in my previous video, I will be saving probably just one vine, and I shall just train the single vine for next year. And I'll probably next year I'll have a lot fewer grapes, but hopefully they'll be bigger and better. So we shall see. It's a case of watch this space next year to see how we do with the grapes from then. But they look great. I'm kind of really impressed by the fact they're just kind of hanging there and they look quite exotic, don't they? So I'm quite pleased about the fact that they've come out. But like I say, I can't see me being able to use them this year. But just for aesthetics alone, I'm just going to kind of leave them alone for now. Now, finally, the prize carrots. I was going to call them tomatoes then. Okay, I haven't checked on these for about a week, so the foliage is starting to look a little tired, but it's still... I mean, these 2 at the front are a lot newer than the 4 at the back and the side here. But the foliage is quite dark green now, so that's sort of telling me that I'm assuming they're going to be a bit woody, and they're probably not going to be great eating. However, I'm not growing them for eating. I'm growing them just to see how big I can grow carrots. And if I just have a little sneak preview there, I don't know if you can see this. I might need to move you in a bit closer and drop that down a little bit. Oops, sorry about that. Okay, that is, what are we saying? That's about 1.5 inches diameter at the moment. So that's looking pretty good. I'm quite impressed with that. I'm just going to leave them. You can see it's kind of pushing itself out of the ground now as well, which is kind of, I presume that's a good thing. Now some folk will probably say, well, they're ready for pulling, but I'm probably going to pull my carrots around the 1st of next month, which is September, isn't it? So I think for the carrot growing challenge, I think I'm actually going to set a date, unless these give me sudden urgent need to pull them straight away. I think I'm going to aim for the 1st of September for the carrot growing challenge. So there we go, there's a little date for your diaries. So that's it for this video. All that's left is for me to water everything, and then I can get on home and have my tea. Thanks for watching, guys. Have a great rest of the day, and I'll see you again in the next video. Take care.